You're getting banned?
My band.
Oh, you're banned. I thought you said that you're getting banned off of social media for something stupid you said.
I'm due to catch a ban for something. My social media is pretty tame.
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't,
post much on social media anymore.
no, I don't either. It's a shame. But then again, I look at the old stuff that I post and I'm like, is it really a shame?
Yeah.
Like, this is probably for the best.
The stuff I used to post didn't benefit any of my friends or followers in any real way other than a little snort through the nose maybe every once in a while. Like, as you're scrolling, you see something funny and you're like,
Hey, your social media posts are very similar to your podcast personality.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I didn't change
Does
much.
doesn't start any real conversation.
No.
It gives you a little
Yeah.
every now and
And then you
then.
move on throughout your day and you forget all about it.
You would.
Yeah.
I'm
Just
sorry, G.
easy in, easy out.
I'm sorry, G. I really shouldn't be this tough on you after all these years.
Hey everyone, I'm Brad from Calgary.
This is Sean from Cambridge, Ontario.
I'm Terry from Cornwall, Ontario.
Hey, this is Larry from Pitt Meadows, British Columbia, and you're listening to the Towing Life Podcast.
Welcome to the Towing Life Podcast, where the ditches are deep, the trucks are loaded, but the drivers are not. I am your host, Towman G, and as usual, I am joined by my co-host, friend, and former co-worker, the man with very strong opinions, Mr. Plain Guy.
What is going on, G? What is going on?
Oh, it's a early morning. I had a late night, so I'm running on like 4 hours of sleep, which is unusual for me now that I'm not in the towing industry.
Yeah, no, your body definitely isn't trained to actually work and run on lack of sleep. How is your caffeine intake? Has it decreased significantly or increased this morning?
No, it's I've cut down. When I used to tow when we worked together, I used to drink like 11 to 13 extra large Timmies a day. Like every time you couldn't pass a Timmy's without stopping and getting a coffee. So I've cut way back to one coffee a day. Max.
Max, wow.
Max.
Wow. It is definitely taking a toll on you because sleeping 4 hours a day is something that used to be quite achievable and quite easy to do and quite regularly done. What were you up so late? Were you drinking some wobbly pops, or you just
I
were
I
out
did
chasing
have a
chickens?
wobbly pop. I had
Wobbly pop.
a singular wobbly pop. Yes, I wanted, since we live in the great province of Ontario, the LICBO, the our
Liquor
alcohol
Control Board
supplier.
of Ontario.
Yeah, that is on strike until Tuesday. So when this episode comes out, couldn't get too many extra wobbly pops, so I was just drinking my chocolate liqueur and Coke that I had in the cupboard. So I had a chocolate
Oh
Coke.
my god, that's such a terrible combination.
It doesn't taste too bad. You know what a vanilla Coke tastes like? It's just a chocolate version with alcohol. And I do about a 50-50 mixture. So, yeah.
That is very interesting because obviously the towing industry limits us quite often in our availability to have a drink,
Mhm.
right? Especially to have multiple drinks if you do want to go on and have a good day.
Mhm.
Um, I guess my question would be like, I wonder how much of what's the worst? Ooh, better question. What is there any like towing related drinks, like alcohol drinks we're talking about, right? Like,
Mhm.
is there like, a drink called the ugly repo man?
Hmm.
Or you know what I mean? Like, and that being said, what is the go-to drink for operators whenever they do have a chance that they're off the clock, they can unwind a little bit? What is the go-to drink? I think that is going to change regionally.
Mhm.
But I would be curious to it. So before we get into everything else, and if you want to submit what your favorite drink is, when you have no towing commitments that allow you to have a little bit of fun, you can find us at www.towinglife.ca. You can email us directly at the towinglife@gmail.com, or you can find us over on Facebook at the Towing Life Podcast. If you're watching over on the YouTube side, do not forget to hit the like and subscribe down below, up top, or wherever it is. I don't watch on YouTube, so I can't tell you. And be sure, if you have any questions, you can go ahead and leave the comment right down below in the YouTube video. We always do appreciate the comments week in, week out, and we address them every once in a while to get to the bottom of the mean, the good, the funny, and the completely irrelevant that we see.
I
I'm a big
learned
beer.
something this past week.
Wait, no, I'm getting to my drink thing. I didn't even
Okay.
get a chance to say mine. I'm a
Okay.
big, I don't think it's hidden. We've seen it a lot on this show. If you do watch on the YouTube side, I'm a big beer guy. I'm very rarely a mixed drink kind of person. Like I don't do shots. I'm not a fan of hard liquor. Call me a puss. I don't care. I'll drink like 9.5% beer,
Mm.
but I am not one to just, hey, let's have some whiskey or something like that. So I am much the beer indulgence. After a hot day, a hardworking hot day, a nice cold beer, oh man, does it ever hit the spot for me. So
Yeah.
you learned something today.
Yes, I learned something this week, and you could say I learned at a 4th grade level, so I'm going to take you on my adventure. The first thing I learned is that local law enforcement drops the ball all the time. But um, if you get that reference from the shooting, anyways,
Oh
no,
my God. Just
did it go over your
continue.
head? Anyways,
Just continue.
and I also learned that how we have zero tolerance for driving commercial vehicles, right? I'm sure
In Ontario.
everyone should know that in Ontario.
Yes. I don't know what each other state has, but I feel
Yeah.
like Tennessee, it's like, under a 0.08, you good still.
Yeah. So here, if you're driving a commercial vehicle, you're not allowed to have any blood in your alcohol system. Alcohol in your blood system, anyways. But I learned that it's not just commercial vehicles. If you hold a CDL, so E, F, G, whatever license other than a G license, you cannot have any alcohol in your blood system because it follows your license, not the
Bullshit.
vehicle you're driving.
Bullshit. I have verified this with police officers before.
Really?
Yes.
Because I had a driving instructor tell me that it's the license holder.
I had a guy who writes these tickets and enforces these laws tell me that it is the vehicle in which you were driving at the time. Because I had that exact question.
Yep.
Company truck. I'm registered under the gross required for my CVOR, like as my commercial vehicle on my pickup truck, right? Like it's still just considered a 1500. And I said, so if I were to go out to dinner or a show or something, and I were to have a beer, would I be breaking the zero tolerance law? No, I would not, because that wouldn't make sense. Because then if you're saying it's following the license, well, that only applies to, like I said, your CDL, which is the equivalent in Ontario, like DZAZ. So a G-class driver would be allowed.
Yeah.
But a DZ driver would not be allowed in his personal vehicle. It doesn't make sense.
I know it doesn't make sense, but it kind of does as well, because you think a lot of these things follow your license along.
There is
right?
things like that do follow your license. We've talked about it before when it comes to crossing into the States. Right? If you have a CDL and you're driving a commercial vehicle in the States, regardless if that vehicle is above the gross weight that you require your CDL for. So example, a DZ driver, a CDL driver driving a Dodge 5500 Ram into the States still requires to pass the FMSCA's drug testing and be in the US dot pool for a Canadian company. They need to go for random drug and alcohol tests. If that same truck is being driven by an operator who doesn't have a CDL because because of the weight class on it, he does not. So like that is one that 100% follows your license. But that is the argument I made with the zero tolerance. I have checked with a officer once I had a personal pickup truck, just out of curiosity on that. If it's out and I have a beer, am I legal? Now, we don't encourage this in any way, shape, or form, and you should never drive any vehicle with any company vehicle with any alcohol tolerant or alcohol in your system. I'm a big believer in that, and again, this has never happened. This isn't something that happens, but the question had to be asked, right? Because 100%, you do not want one of your trucks getting impounded, a non-CVOR vehicle or a non-tow truck, because of something silly like that you just misunderstood.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, this driving instructor that I was speaking to, she obviously didn't know everything, I guess. If you're right, I don't know. Should I take your thoughts and opinions over a driving instructor that's been
Oh,
driving AZ? Hello?
I think we lost Tomanji's internet. There you go. Should you take my thoughts and opinions? Is that what you're saying? I lost you.
Yeah, should I take your thoughts and opinions over a driving instructor who's been driving for 40 years and has
If
AZ
there's anything I've
experience?
ever taught you in our career together, is you always should take my opinion.
Ah,
It'll make your life easier in the long run. I promise you.
just play dumb.
No, just play. The man with very strong opinions tends to be right a lot.
Okay.
Not always. God knows I've made my fair share of mistakes, but if I
Life's
wasn't worried
hard. It's harder when you're stupid.
if I wasn't worried about the way that the officers that I know speak on the phone when they're private, I would call one right now, anonymously. But yeah, no, I'll confirm it again. I'll confirm it with a separate officer that I know.
Mm-hmm.
But I can assure you, it doesn't make sense. What your instructor is saying.
Mm-hmm.
I get what he's getting at, but no, it doesn't
Yeah.
follow your license in your personal car.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I was a little dumbfounded when she said that anyways, but
I was like, hey, what do I know?
yeah.
I've only been driving for 10. She's been driving for 40. She's
Yeah.
old as shit. She.
It was a she.
I want to go back to a little update we had. We talked last week about fragile Fords and those active air dams.
Yep.
And ways on which to load them. So we did some testing in our yard. I was lucky enough. My dad actually has a 2021 with the active air dam on it.
Mm-hmm.
So he was nice enough to lend it to us for a day, and we went ahead and we did some testing.
Mm-hmm.
And we found different ways that we could load this truck. It was pretty simple. You go to your regular transmission mounts the way you do, except you put a block of wood on the front cross member, a 4x4 block of wood while you're winching it on. It keeps the winch line off of that front valance.
Yep.
Right. And I went through this with each one of my employees, just to ensure everyone. And it's not even that, like, we showed them different ways to load it, but it's just be aware of this. Like, you need to, here's the system, see it, there's where it is. You don't, just so every time your brain thinks, when I get onto an F-150, I better go just check and be aware of if this system is active or installed on this vehicle. The other option that we went is we took a J hook chain bridle instead of the straps. We normally use the strap bridles, and shortened it up, kept a decent veer angle on it, and was able to load them right off the tow hooks. And still on our 21-foot 10 TB flatbeds, we're still able to have it into a nice spot on the bed. Our Dodge Ram 5500, not a chance. You're going to transmission cross member, because you'll run out of winch. He knows they allowed enough with the shortened up bridle. The 10T or the smaller 5500 trucks will not allow the space.
What's
There's barely
that,
enough space to get
19.5 or
aft on.
19?
Yeah, it's like a 19.5.
Yeah.
So
Those
they
extra-
barely have enough space for a half ton to start with.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed it. It was fun to kind of go over it. Also, we pointed out the importance of tie down slots on the truck and going forward, possibly pulling forward and going into that valance as well. Right. That is something we had never really kind of, the idea crossed my mind when we started talking about it, or when I heard about these active air dams, things to avoid. But looking at the Fords, they actually give T-hook slots, proper doubled transport slots on the front of the front wheels, as well as the rear. So I would obviously start looking, if you're doing the chain tie down, you'd be looking at chaining inwards, if you know what I mean, from the front tires backwards.
Yep. Cross chaining it through the center of the truck.
Yeah. So, but anyways, I had a listener reach out, and he goes, "Hey, I talking about those Fords, I had a great trick to loading them that he wanted to share with me, and I figured I would share it right on the show, because by God, it's pretty great." When he backs up to them, watching to make sure he's not an interlock driveway, anything like that, obviously there's different things. On an F-150, and you've spoken about it, the front wheels will roll, the back wheels are locked, right? If we leave a vehicle in park. Unless the four-wheel drive is fully active, whatever.
Yep.
He loads them like a sea can to start. And this makes sense. So he
Pulls
puts his bed
himself
down to the
underneath of it.
front wheels, doesn't pull himself underneath, just backs under. You can load a C-cam without a winch.
Yeah.
Fun fact. Now you're learning at a 6th grade level today, G.
Hmm.
If you ever loaded a C-can, you can get the tip of your bed under the edge of the C-can. If you use C-can skates, whatever.
Yeah.
And you can actually back your truck up and the C-cam will slide up your truck. So he does the same idea. He backs his truck up so that the front tires come up onto the bed, let's say 3-4 feet, chalks the wheels, hooks it up. Now the winch line's not in the way.
Mm.
Because once that truck is like, you know what I mean, up the bed a little bit, the clearance issue goes away. The clearance issue is only as the front end is coming up onto the bed.
Mm.
So as long as you were to do it, now you got to watch an interlock driveway. You don't, chunk somebody's driveway or something. But it was a different approach that, as I sat there training that day in the yard, and I remember just like looking at it, just thinking of different ways. That one never crossed my mind. But I like it. You can put your bed, you can get your bed tucked under the wheels. You can even lift it up a little bit. Maybe a tow hook as a safety, just to, precaution. And then you back up. The front tires will roll up the bed. The back tires will stay in place. Once you get the vehicle up to a point, the winch won't be an issue. You can wheel chock the tires to add a second level of precaution. Hook up your vehicle. Neutral your vehicle. And you're not all the way up on your bed that you're hopping up on your bed. Neutral the vehicle. Continue up the bed.
Coming from the guy who is dead against driving vehicles onto the deck, I'm surprised that you like that method.
Why?
Because so you're out of the truck, you get your bed, you shove the bed underneath the front tire, and then you go back into the cab after you raise the bed up a little bit, and you put the truck into reverse, and you start backing up. Well, one of the
A foot or two
reasons
straight. Yeah.
make sure that it's straight. But what happens if for some reason that wheel starts to turn on the truck as you're backing up and you can't see the front end of the truck, or you don't catch the front end of the truck walking off the side of the bed quickly enough, right? Like there's just a lot more things that could go wrong. That's one of the reasons why when you winch a vehicle up, you're right there. You can see everything. But when you're in the cab of the truck, you can't see as much, especially when the deck's up. You might not be able to see the casualty coming up the deck the same, right? Because it's tilted up.
It's an F-150
I
on a
know,
flatbed. What kind of decks are you driving?
but I'm saying like you're not there dealing with it. You have less sight lines. Once it's up on the bed, then you got to climb up into a higher truck
Well, you
because
don't
now
put it.
you're
Yeah, you still do have to climb up a little higher, but you don't put the
yeah.
whole truck on the deck.
I know you don't put the whole truck
You
on
just
the
put
deck.
like you rolled it up maybe 3-4 feet.
Yeah. But still, like, why? Why are you doing all this? I feel like the
To
risk
avoid damage
factor
claims.
has I feel like the risk factor has gone up because you are pushing back on the truck to load it with that parking pin. And yes, you could put a safety chain on there, but what's okay, so when you come to unload it, are you doing the same thing in reverse? Or are you
Have you
just
never unloaded a vehicle with locked up rear tires?
yes, I know you pull the bed out from underneath it, you drive ahead once the one tire's down on the ground that's locked up.
That's
I
what you're
get
doing,
that.
yeah. That's what you do to offload it, yeah. You can bring it down to a spot, chalk the
But
wheels.
what I'm trying to wrap my head around is you're doing all this and you're still hooking a winch cable up to it.
Mhm.
So it's just like, why are you going through all these extra steps? You're chalking it once it's on there. Why wouldn't you just hook your chains up to it and put that 4x4 there to get it down from the valance and then just be done with it?
Because
Right?
sometimes, so like we're spoiled in the sense that um a lot of our trucks come equipped with remotes, right? Almost all of our trucks come equipped with remotes. So when you're trying to set this 4x4 up on the cross member
Hmm.
on the winch line to avoid the valance, it's easy to do with a remote,
Hmm.
right? It's
Yeah.
not so easy to do without one,
Yeah.
right? You're gonna be sitting there, you're gonna winch, okay, you gotta leave it snug, but just to say snug so that you can then go and pull down and get that block of wood in there and confirm that it's off against the valance. This is another tool for the toolbox. What is there drivers in the towing industry that I would never show this trick to? 100%. But it is definitely a tool to get you out of a spot, right? You're in that Dodge flatbed that we have that doesn't have the accessibility to go to the tow hooks, doesn't have a remote to put the 4x4 on the cross member or make it easy to put the 4x4 on the cross member.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, back up, get this thing a foot or two on your bed. You know, chalk the wheels prior. You know, safety. You don't want something happen to the pin, the thing rolls away.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now you're getting in, you're hooking up, everything's all secured on it, you're transferring it into neutral, you're leaving it in neutral then. You're 2-3 feet up on the bed.
Yep.
You know, you're not all the way up at the top of the bed where you've got to, you know, like you're limiting the risk. Now I get what you're saying. At that point, you feel the risk is higher there than it would be for the damage claim.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is with the risk on these damage claims is that my father's had this truck since 2021. He had no idea the system was even there until I told him.
Yep.
Not a clue in the world. I showed him a video of it, explained to him how it worked. He had no goddamn idea.
Mm-hmm.
It is the easiest thing that someone is going to throw us under the bus to if they get the opportunity.
Yeah.
Right? They don't know it. They don't understand it. I had it towed and now it's broken. And I seen the winch line touch that.
Mm-hmm.
Educate your customer. And a lot of that comes down to it, right? 100% comes down to educating your customer.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Remember towing on dollies. Okay? Towing on dollies with a flat tire. What would you always do?
You have
Move.
to double pick it. You
No,
have to
no,
drag
not
the
even
car
that.
up on top of the bar.
Not even that. Okay, double picking. Doesn't matter if you're loading it frontwards, backwards. The flat tire with tire pressure sensors.
Oh yeah, make sure the valve stem's up and it's not touching.
It's
the
not
bar.
where the
Yeah.
spoon is crushing. And you would
Mhm.
educate the customer on that. Okay, fun trick for those listening that never knew about this trick, because I don't think we've ever talked about it.
Mm.
An easy damage claim to avoid is a lot of vehicles come with TPMSs now, tire pressure monitoring systems.
Mhm.
If you are in a wrecker, specifically, because a flatbed doesn't really apply, if you're in a wrecker and you are loading a vehicle with a flat tire, be aware when you are putting your L-arms on or your spoons on, or even your dollies, where that tire is sitting up against the bar.
Mhm.
You do not want it to be right. Most TPMSs, not all, but are at the valve stem.
Mhm.
So if you have that valve stem lined right up where that spoon is crushing into that flat tire, and you hit a bump going down the road pretty good, which we know they bounce on the wheel lift,
Mhm.
you can crush that TPMS. Make it a habit of getting the TPMS to the top, or the valve stem to the top of the wheel
Mhm.
before loading them. Will be an easy. You know, the guy's already got a flat tire. Yes, there's some liability on him that the flat tire might have caused the TPMS to get crushed depending on how he drove it.
Yep.
But if you educate your customer and you go, hey, just so you're aware, you'll notice that we put the valve stem facing, 12 o'clock, because we wanted to make sure that if there wasn't any damage already, that we wouldn't go ahead and cause some.
Mhm.
When that guy gets to the tire shop and the tire shop tells him that his TPMS got crushed, he's not the first guy. He's not going to think of you now.
Yep.
But if he goes, your TPMS got crushed, well, should that happen in a flat tire? Not really. Could it happen getting towed? Yeah. Right.
Yep.
And it definitely could.
Yep.
So it's the same thing with these F-150s and that too. You want to avoid damage claims. It's not just, obviously document what you can, but have the conversation with the customer.
Mhm.
Customers are like, they love to learn stuff. Right. And if you give them a fun piece of information that day, normally they're like, hey, did you know that my Dodge has this little pull cord that you can pull that puts it into neutral?
Yep.
And like that kind of stuff
They'll go around and tell their friends all week.
Yeah, like it's the dumbest piece of information that we all know.
Mhm.
But to them it's not. So if that's where I say, like I said, even with these Ford things, if you explain it to the customer why you're doing it, you're loading it up that way, you're gonna save yourself a lot of trouble. So yeah. Damage claims suck. I hate dealing with damage claims. They're my least favorite thing.
Mhm.
Especially when they're right. Like when the customer's right, or like we're wrong, in other words.
Mm.
Where there's just nothing you can do about it.
Yep.
Like I like a good damage claim that I can argue. I had a gentleman recently with a Mercedes who claimed that, we grabbed a wire on his vehicle. A wire that comes in through the top strut and down. Was adamant we grabbed it with a J hook doing an impound. And I'll fight that one. I'll do my research. I'll look at where, the diagrams of these things. I'll look at the photos from the vehicle and, use what experience I do have, as short as it may be, to come up with a determination on the likely cause of the damage. I like fighting that. Those are fun to me. What I don't like is your guy just offloaded a cube truck and hit a brand new car in my parking lot. Well, that is a very hard argument to find, to have.
I saw a Facebook post of this flatbed. It was a red Ram, probably 2500, 3500. And the operator hooked his winch cable directly up to the driver's side tow hook on the Ram and winched it onto the bed.
Mm,
And what this damage claim was, is it showed the angle of the winch line pulling down to the winch. And you know how the bumpers on those Dodges have the little step up underneath the headlight and wrap around?
mhm,
Well, the whole bumper apparently got twisted down, so it pushed the far edge at the back towards the fender.
mhm,
And the damage claim is stating that he bent the bumper down,
mhm,
even though the tow hooks mount directly to the frame on the
mhm,
inside of the bumper, but the bumper also mounts to the same mounting bracket. So they're saying that he twisted the bumper and that the towing company, it's a local towing company to us, it's a pretty big company, is saying we didn't cause that.
mhm.
That's not an us thing. And I went out and looked at my truck afterwards, and my bumper is slightly twisted down, and the one side's pushed in a little bit, but I remember it was pushed in when I bought it. But it's a like you don't really notice it because
Unless you go
it
looking for it.
exactly. And in this picture, he's taking pictures of it of all around, and you can't like why are you even going after this? Because it's not affecting the way the truck drives. It's not affecting the way the truck looks in any real way, shape, or form. Like, why are you just being an asshole for the sake of being an asshole? I can see, oh yeah, the tow truck driver bent my bumper slightly, and but can you prove it wasn't like that prior to the tow?
But that's the problem, is that it's our job to
Yeah.
prove that it was like that prior to the tow.
Mm-hmm.
That is an unfortunate state in which we live in, that it is not in the world of social media and public opinion. You're guilty
Mm-hmm.
until proven innocent,
Yep.
right? In a court of law, you're still innocent until proven guilty, but everywhere else in the world, you are not.
Mm-hmm.
So, what makes it easier? Proving it before. But again,
Yep.
if that's something that's so unnoticeable, it would be normal that your operator might not document it.
Yep.
What would save that? And I hate this because, like, I've heard this argument before, and I go, well, there's realism to, there's realistic expectations. What would have saved them? Four corners, photos all around before he loaded it,
Possibly.
right? Like, it sounds stupid because you're like, oh, I'm not going to waste my time with that. But now your company is wasting more time defending itself
Mm-hmm.
than taking
Why am I
photos
going
on
to take
every
pictures
call.
of nothing
Yeah.
in case something happens? I guess.
Like I teach and I instill that take photos loading and unloading, and that way, your ass is covered as an operator.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guilty of, I will walk around and find the spots, the easy spots, like the front valance is cracked.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like there's, when I was in a wrecker and he sort of scuffs to the corners,
Mm-hmm.
especially on the front where they would say that you jackknifed it or you had your wheel lift in too close. Taking those kind of, there's stuff that you just don't think of taking photos, and then a customer comes in. What's this dent on my roof?
Hmm.
Like there's no way I put a dent on your roof. I had a wireless tow light. And even if I had a wired one, there's no way I did a dent on your roof.
Yeah. But it's okay. So let's say you got a car up on the deck, and while you're driving to the shop, a stone comes up and cracks your windshield.
How? Okay. How?
It's happened to me once. And
Over
when
your cab and hits their windshield and cracks
it,
their
it
windshield?
happened to me once when I was towing something in the wrecker. And when I got to the shop, I was like, was that windshield cracked when I picked it up? And I couldn't remember to
It
save
was
my life.
probably no, it was probably a slight little chip and a bump cracked the goddamn thing.
Yes, but it still happened while it was in my possession, right?
But it is anything that you could have changed.
No. It was
Exactly.
out of my control.
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
think
So,
one of the main roadsides actually has a clause to where if your windshield gets a stone chip while in transport, they will pay to get the stone chip replaced or a windshield replaced.
like while
I'm
you're
not
driving, not while it's being towed.
no while it's being towed.
What? Who has this?
One of the big roadsides. One of the
Oh,
big
big
3-letter roads.
roadside. Okay, I thought
Yeah.
you said one of the roads.
No,
It's
no.
like, what?
Um,
That road sees a lot of tow trucks.
I'm not sure if they would pass that bill on to the tow provider. I'm hoping not because I've never seen one of those bills, but I did read in one of the big roadsides. This is back when I first started towing. I'm not sure if they changed it now, but they would pay to get your windshield repaired if it got damaged during shipment.
Did they have like a fucking like epidemic of tow truck drivers taking out windshields for a while? Like how
Maybe.
like most of these rules and most of these things are brought in, right, because of an issue.
Hmm.
Right? Like you don't offer free windshield repair while being towed unless you had a problem with windshields getting damaged while being towed.
Yeah.
Right? Like these
Well, I
things
think you're
normally
seeing
go
fewer
hand
and
in
fewer
hand.
gravel roads now too, out and about. So it could have been a dying thing.
Yeah,
Maybe back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, it was more of a big deal.
possibly. But yeah, it's an odd I've never heard of it. I've never seen it. So I'm
Hmm.
taking, as you should do, I'll take your opinion in this case on it.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on it. But no, that's wild to me.
Hmm. But I could see a customer being upset about it, right? Like if I tow their
Mhm,
car and
mhm.
when it gets to the drop off, now all of a sudden they've got a big cracked windshield, or heaven forbid their windshield is now all spider cracked and you can't see through out the windshield, right? That would be a fight that I wouldn't want to have, but it'd be
See, that's the kind of damage claim I would like to fight because I go, Mr. Customer, if you would have driven your car, you would have taken the exact same route,
uh,
followed the exact same. Like there's at one point it's go fly a kite,
yeah. Here's
right?
two
I
hundred
will take
dollars. Bugger off.
responsibility for any damage that we do
Yeah.
because of our towing practices. I will not take responsibility for any Okay, you're towing, you get a flat tire. Right, you're towing the car, you get a flat tire on. Let's say you're a front wheel drive with rear tires on the ground, you get a flat tire. Who's responsible?
Yeah.
It's not the towing company. It's not the towing company in that one.
They could say, well, did the driver notice it right away? Did he pull over and change the tire? Or did he
No, that's
drive
what I'm
on it?
saying. Like,
Right.
well, like he noticed it. He comes around, he's got a flat tire,
Yeah.
takes a corner, okay, got a flat tire, pull over. Who's responsible for paying for that tire?
Yeah.
Not the towing company. Right?
Mhm.
I want to avoid that, put it on a bed, but it's not realistic, and we understand that. Right?
Mhm.
There is wreckers, and wreckers are involved in the towing industry for many, many, many years for a reason.
Mhm.
But yeah, who's responsible? My opinion, customer. Right? I'm trying to think of other things that could happen, like the cracked windshield thing. Customer.
Yeah.
A stone coming up off the road and hitting the side of the car and putting a scratch in it, let's say.
Oh, dollies, right?
Oh, yeah, true.
Yeah.
Stone coming up off a tire and hitting, you know,
Yeah.
customer.
Yeah.
Hate
You
to say
see,
that, but
when you
customer.
tow with dollies in the winter, how disgusting it makes the side of the car,
Go down a
right?
dirt muddy road with dollies in the summertime and you see how
Yeah.
disgusting it makes the side of a car. But no,
Mhm.
okay, so here's an example. Stone comes up off of a dolly tire and scratches a car or something along those lines.
Mhm.
Customer. Dolly tire blows out and scratches the customer car. Towing company,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
If a stone comes off my tow truck and hits your car and I have my mud flaps, I'm fully road legal and everything, and just a stone that came out of the tread.
Mhm.
It's customer.
But what if
If
that customer wanted a bed and you convinced him into a wrecker with dollies?
doesn't matter.
Mm.
It doesn't matter.
It's a good way
His
to lose
vehicle
a
is getting
customer, though.
transported up in the air, off the ground. Like stuff happened. Like
Yeah.
it would have been no different if he drove it,
Yeah.
right? Like road hazard stuff like that would applies to you driving the vehicle or it being towed. And maybe maybe that'll. Some people don't agree with that. I'd love to hear the argument on it,
Mhm.
right? But where does a damage claim start? At what point do you draw that line? Right? Is it like I'd be curious the different opinions on it, and that's the scenario, right?
Well,
Customer
under
requests
that
a bed.
same concept, though, so you're towing something,
Mhm.
let's say a Honda Civic.
Okay.
Honda Civic's probably a bad example, but anyways, you're
Okay.
driving down the road with it on your wrecker,
Yep.
and you're driving down a road you've never driven down, and you hit a bad pothole and you bust out an oil pan. Well,
Towing.
you had more than enough clearance. You just didn't see the condition of the road, right?
Towing company.
I know it's the towing company, but like It's something that was kind of out of your control that just happened going down the road.
No, it didn't. It's not out of your control to avoid the big pothole.
Well, I don't know about the roads around you, but some of our roads out here look like war zones.
Yeah, so take a different
Right.
road. That's completely in your control.
Yeah.
So towing company.
Yeah.
Want to run other scenarios by me? What else you got?
It's just, it's always a fight though, no matter what. It's, yeah, it's
Towing a
customers
customer's
will always want something for free, and they always look at us as, oh, the stupid tow truck driver damaged my car.
Towing a customer's car in a pickup truck and the tailgate fucking slams down while you're towing it.
Yeah.
Fucking maybe it's got a trailer pinned. Well, that wouldn't really make sense. I don't know. Maybe it's got something on the bumper and it, damages the tailgate because the tailgate opened while the tow truck driver was towing it.
Mhm.
Customer.
Yep.
If I didn't touch your tailgate and I didn't go in and I didn't, you know what I mean? Like if I show up, this thing's latched and it's going down the road in a tow truck and it hits a bump and the tailgate opens. Customer.
But what if it's
But
the pickup truck and you've loaded it backwards and it had a roll up tonneau cover and you had to open up the tailgate to roll up the tonneau cover
well, then the tailgate's falling the other way. Towing
into
company.
like the boom of your tow truck?
Yeah, towing company.
Yeah. So as soon
Right.
as you touch it, you're now liable for
Well, as soon as you touch it, yeah. Like if it doesn't, you secure it and you check it, you're liable. 100%. 100%. I think that's the fair way to look at it. As soon as you touch it, you're liable for it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I thought you were going to say that the tonneau cover comes off. I'm like, towing company because it's backwards and it's not supposed to go that way.
Yeah.
No, like I said, there's a lot of things like that fighting a damage claim is always fun.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in the right, it sucks when you're in the wrong. But there's times where you gotta, tell people to kick rocks.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's times that it's easier to just shut them up.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I had a customer one time, it cost me $5 to solve a claim. I wasn't even going to fight it regardless.
Mm-hmm.
He popped the neutral release tab out of like a Dodge Caravan or a Dodge something. It was like the one that like the cover.
Yep.
That little piece that comes out?
Yep.
And he said he put it in the cup holder. Customer couldn't find it.
Mm.
Customer was mad because now got a hole in her, next to her shifter. And I went to a scrapyard and grabbed it. I think I found one in the backyard of our yard. No, I had to order it off Dodge. I tried. I looked. I didn't have that same one. Didn't have it in the same trim color. And I ordered one for like $5 off Dodge.
Yep.
And showed up at her house and put it in because it wasn't worth the argument that my he said, she said.
Mm-hmm.
This wasn't, we weren't talking about a, $200 part where I'd go, no, my guy, I stand by my driver, whatever. This is just really $5 going to make you happy? Okay. I'm going to spend more time fighting you on this.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to spend more than $5 arguing with you. I'd rather just give you the $5.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think damage claims are, I towed a rental car the once and I was putting it up on dollies, and as I was putting it up on dollies, I was looking at the back corner panel of his car, and I looked and I saw a scratch kind of like at the same level as the dollies, but not where the dollies could even touch it. And I was like, I'm going to get blamed for that because anytime a rental car gets brought back in, they go over it with like a fine tooth comb.
Mm-hmm.
So I took pictures of everything. I brought my manager out to the scene because he was close anyways. And we dropped the dollies and cranked the dollies back up just to show like the dollies couldn't touch where this big scrape was. And just to cover our ass because I didn't notice it prior to loading. If I noticed it prior to putting dollies underneath of it and took a picture of it, my ass would have been covered. But since I already had dollies underneath the car, I wanted to just double and triple check to make sure that I couldn't be blamed for something I didn't do.
And that's what a lot of it is.
Yep.
It's covering your goddamn ass, remembering that everybody out there is trying to get a buck off you.
Yep.
And nobody wants to pay you for your services. So for the love of God, cover your ass.
Cover ass always.
Yeah, exactly. Our favorite 3 letters.
Yep.
But no, it's true. And, cover your ass when it comes to avoiding damage claims and cover your ass when it comes to getting payment.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We've talked about this before, and I want to share 2 separate stories that we recently had. I don't think I ever shared the most recent one, right? The burn job, the most recent burn job.
I'm not sure if it was on the show or not.
Okay. So we've talked about, confirming payment. 2 stories that we had. One, customer calls us up one day. Says, I got a Dodge Ram pickup truck that was coming back from New Brunswick. And I started having transmission issues. Where have I heard that joke before? So on the safe side, I was towing my 5th wheel camper. I left my 5th wheel camper there and drove the truck back empty to put less strain on the transmission. I made it back. I'm currently in the process of rebuilding my transmission, but I need to get my camper brought back. What would you charge me? And we're not going to get into the billing side on what we would charge. It was about I want to say it was like 2,000 kilometer round trip, on this whole thing.
Yep.
And so we put together a price with the customer. He agrees. Okay, no problem.
Yep.
Okay. So we go and we drive down to New Brunswick and we pick up the trailer exactly where it is. Nothing wrong with the trailer, right? We haul it back, and we had one driver go down and bring it back, and then I went and delivered it to the customer's house. So I show up at the customer's house with him. We kept in contact with him the whole time and everything. And he comes out and he goes, yeah. He's like, you guys have never been screwed before, eh? I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, you went down, you did 2,000 kilometers, 1,000 kilometers down to go get my trailer. Like, you never asked me for a credit card number in advance. What if the trailer wasn't there? I was like, well, you're lucky it was.
Yeah.
But it's true. Like, this guy called us out of the blue. And I dealt with him directly, and I like to think I'm a pretty good judge of character.
Yep.
And I spoke with him on the phone because I remember asking him, like, how'd you hear about us? Oh, well, we stopped to get food at the truck stop, and so whenever we ran into problems, we were just like, oh, we'll try calling them. They're close to home and different things like that. But I never guaranteed any sort of payment before I left.
Yep.
He was a, country guy. I don't know. You get those moments. So that was, take note. You can, that would have burned driving all the way down to New Brunswick for nothing. I mean, we just went down with a 2,500 pickup, right? We didn't bring a tow truck down because it didn't require anything special, and towed it back. So we talked weeks ago. It was just a fun little story I wanted to share. We talked weeks ago about a motorcycle recovery that we did where the police had called us and we wouldn't go ahead and do the job until the insurance company got involved or guaranteed payment. Well, I ran into that again. I get a call from a local, but a different police force than we normally deal with for a vehicle burnt to a crisp. And so right away, my dispatch was trained. Okay, police call. Okay, get a truck going. I'm like, I'm gonna go take a look at this.
Yep.
It's over the bridge. There's tolls involved and everything else. It's a big, So I go over and I meet the officers over there, and it is a 2023 Land Rover, burnt to the ground. Well, actually, at first when I got there, I didn't know what it was.
Yep.
Burnt to the ground. They had no VIN number that they've been able to find. They don't know who the owner is. Like, they just want us to pick it up, and it's in a field. It's not blocking a road. It's not an emergency.
Yep.
It's in a field. So I tell the officers, I go, okay, well, it's not going to come out of here today.
Yep.
Here's here's my problem. I do not want to send all the resources that I need to properly do this job, only to find out that I'm going to get stuck with this bill. Do you have an owner? Do you have a whatever? Okay, well, let's look. And then they started to do the digging a little deeper.
Yep.
And now,
I guess we got to do our job now. Shit.
100%. So they called the owner while I was there, and I got her policy number. And it was an American vehicle. It was insured through Geico. Saved me 15% or more on insurance by torching it in the field.
A stupid little lizard.
So I call Geico with all this information, and I explained to them who I am because I'm in the Canadian side. They're, they transfer me to Buffalo, and get this all sorted out. And they said, okay, we're going to send you an email. It's like a claim thread, so that you can respond and whatever. I said, okay. So I send them off an email. I go, here is our breakdown for our recovery for this vehicle, right? And I've got a roll-off truck to clean up the debris. I've got my float. I've got this. I've got the disposal fee at the landfill. I've got this. All here is my all-in total. And the only thing that is to be added to this is $65 a day storage for the storage of the carcass, I'm going to call it. because I'm going to pretty much go there and I'm going to take the carcass and I'm going to shake it like the frame and get all the loose stuff off, put that on a bed, and the rest is getting scooped into a roll-off bin and going to the dump.
Yep.
Never hear back from them.
Mm.
Day or two goes by, don't hear back from them. My wife gets a call on impound. Hey, this is a Canadian insurance company or that manages or that deals with and pickups out of our yard. I'm looking for information and a payout on this vehicle. My wife explains to them, the vehicle is not currently in our yard until we can get confirmation of this invoice, being accepted.
Yep.
We haven't sent out the trucks. So if you can get confirmation for that, we'll send out the trucks.
Yep.
Day goes by, don't hear back from anybody. Okay. Great. So I'm not going to get it. Next day, tow truck shows up at our yard with a check from the company to pick up the vehicle.
Just tell them where it is. I'll keep the check. Go get it, bud.
I'm like, it's not here. What do you mean it's not here? I'm like, nobody has given us confirmation. He's like, well, I think the check is confirmation. I'm like, I agree.
Yeah.
The check is I'll have it here this afternoon.
Yeah.
We went out and we went and got it. But
Did he leave the check for you?
No.
Oh.
No, he took the check back and then he showed up the next day with a check just for an extra day storage, which didn't make any sense. Oh, because they didn't want to get it that afternoon. With an extra day storage, and then didn't have the original check, and then came with the original check, and it was worth more than the invoice. Like, I don't understand insurance companies. And so it was, but it's one of those things, like, confirm your payment. It was another one where it would be so easy for somebody to take this vehicle in and sit on it and chase ownership and chase whatever and all that, where it's like, if it's it's a non-priority vehicle, make the calls first. Get the information from lease. Make the calls. The cops surprisingly understand. If this is in the middle of the road, blocking an intersection, you can't go, hold on, I want to call their insurance to make sure they'll pay my bill. I get that part. Right? And on most vehicles, right, with the process that you have through Ontario, depending on you can pile up and scrap them at one point to get most of your cost back out of it.
Yeah.
I ain't getting anything out of a burnt
frame
SUV. There's no weight left, and I'm paying to dispose of garbage. Right? So it's so important to it's little things like that, especially when our industry is in such an upside down, tipsy-turvy kind of place, that you can make those arrangements ahead of time. People have asked before, seeing trailers on the side of highways in Canada, right? Americans have been shocked by that out in BC. What's this trailer still doing here? Because they're waiting for confirmation before they go get it. They're doing the right thing instead of getting screwed and stuck with the bill.
I think you're in a better position to negotiate that way, though, because if you're in a very populated area, they'll just keep calling another tow company until some schmuck goes out and does it.
Then let him fucking deal with the bullshit that comes with it.
Yeah.
Let him deal with the bullshit. If the cops can't understand that at the end of the day, you are a business, I think they get a little too complacent in the thought, well, fire, ambulance, whatever, they're all like me, tow trucks, like, you guys just got to do, like, we just do this. And it's like, no, I'm a business. You're publicly funded. And at the end of the day, my business has to make money. If not, it's not a business. It's a fucking charity. And I believe in donating to charity. I don't believe in running the business as one. So, most cops, so if you just have an honest conversation about it, they understand. Look, I don't want to get stuck with this thing. I'm not under, you don't say that I'm not under contract to be, that you have to make me do this. Like, there is one police force I have that I'm under contract that I don't have a choice. I have to. It's a dumb contract, but it is what it is. But, like, I don't have to, like, this is why I'm concerned. If you can help me with these concerns by giving me an RO's information, by giving me this kind of stuff, then I can work something out and we'll get this done for you. You're right. From the private parking side of things, they're just going to call somebody else. Right? Like, private parking, I still don't do. I love they call us. Well, the cops told us to call you. Well, I only go if the cops call us. Well, I called the cops. I know, but that's not what I mean. Right? Because that's what happened. They'll call the police and say, hey, I got a private vehicle here I want removed. Okay, well, you can call company towing, A towing, 123 towing. They're who we use. And then they call us and we go, no, we don't do that. Like, what do you mean? And then again, it comes down to, it's just like, it's not that I don't want to help you. It comes down to, it's bad public. It's bad publicity. We're here to help the community, and I understand that you're in a bit of a situation with this. However, I'm going to get stuck with this vehicle. I'm going to have to charge you ludicrous pricing. Like, there's all the stuff that goes into it. We'd rather not get involved in it. Most people go, no, that makes sense. Like, but if you call company 245, they will absolutely help you out. And they call company 245 and they go haul their scrap away and deal with it. You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason that just because you're a towing company that you need to take all the shit. Right? Like, if you're gonna get the shit, find ways. And this bill, like, my bill was a high bill for a burn recovery. Right? But it was detailed. It was this unit, my triaxle float, and it's gonna sound like overkill. My triaxle float at an hourly rate for 3 hours, travel out, loading, clean up everything, travel back. My roll-off truck for 3 hours. The dumping of the fee, and I went based on the last one that I did. I put the pricing at the same price. And my skid steer that I was using to do the cleanup in the field.
On a flatbed?
No.
Or did you
That's why I used the triaxle.
Yeah,
exactly. I charged slightly more. But saved a second, another unit having to go out, and then paying toll, and then I $100 in tolls, whatever the tolls we calculated would be. But yeah, no, I sent the triaxle so I could haul the carcass onto the bed, and then also reload the skid steer on it, save a truck, because I'm not trying to screw the insurance company. I'm trying to get paid value for my services. Right. And that's the problem. They want to pre-bill a lot of them ahead of time. They want to know what it's going to cost. Well, okay, so I went 3 hours. Well, it took me 2. Well, guess what? You needed a price rate up front. If it would have taken me 4, you wouldn't have let me charge 4. So if it took me 2, you're paying 3. Right? That was the agreed upon. Every invoice that they had seen before that had 3 hours on it before we had even done the job. So protecting yourself, making sure you're getting paid, the importance in the towing industry. At the end of the day, we can do the job in, every day, all day. Half the battle is doing the job. The other half is getting paid. Right? That's the big struggle, and not just getting paid, but getting paid what you're worth. So, I think that was fun. I like this episode, G. I think we had a good time.
Did the learning curve ramp up a little bit?
Yeah, I feel like we were very educational to our listeners. I figured, like, watch out, Sesame Street, we're coming for you.
With a couple extra fucks sprinkled throughout.
With a couple F-bombs sprinkled in on the Sesame Street. So, yeah. That being said, on behalf of myself and my wonderful co-host, Mr. Toman G, we thank you for joining us for another episode of the Towing Life Podcast. We cannot wait to see you again next week. Take care.
Toodles.
Did you try and make a joke about the fucking shooting?
Yeah, I did make a joke about the fucking shooting.
What was the joke exactly that you said? I
But
knew what it was.
Local law enforcement's always drop the ball.
Oh.
Because they're supposed to be on that roof. They're in the building, but not on the roof. Apparently that roof was too slopey, even though the Secret Service was on a more slanted roof.
Do you think it... Let's end this recording because we don't need to get political.